Testing, check, check. Hello, welcome to the stream. I'm Alita Singleton. This is my LLC, Ninja Robot Studio LLC. And on this stream on Thursdays, I call it the Free Labs Class Thursdays. I play video games and VR experiences and talk through them from a UX designer's perspective. And then after each game, I will do a Rose Thorn Bud exercise and talk through it based on what went well. Well, those are the roses. Like, what are the things that work well considering UX, based on UX and the knowledge that I have on UX best practices for gaming and for VR and so forth. And if you want to check out the pillars of gaming UX, those are from Celia Holden's book, The Gamer's Brain. And I did a summary where I talked about them on YouTube if you want to check out that Pillars of Gaming UX video. And also, I'm wondering why the music stopped, but it seems to be still playing. But I also create a lot of educational content around UX for XR. So if you want to check out all the things, you can check out the link tree. Those are in the chat, and also they'll be in the show notes later for those that are watching this on demand later. But a lot of content that I create around this space just so that I can help enable people like you who want to get into this XR field to understand what are the best practices here, what do we need to think about whenever we're creating these experiences. And I go by genre, and right now I'm working on training, and I've been spending a ton of time on training lately because I am actually working on online courses that teach you how to create training in XR, because there's a huge need, a huge demand for it, and it is important that we get this right for people. So I'm teaching the UX of that, and that's why I'm spending a lot of time on it. So the things that work well based on those pillars of gaming UX and UX best practices for training and so forth. And thorns are what did not go well, what was the low point, what did we not like, and then buds are our opportunities. What would we do better if we were creating this for ourselves? What would we do better? And like any next steps, any potential next steps, that follow-up questions, anything like that would come with the buds. Like, I have some follow-up stuff here. What does menu button double check what the NPC was doing? Yeah, so he's just standing there. So I did answer that. That was a, and I think yeah, so I did do that. And I think I already put that in here. So what I'm doing right now is I finished playing this game called Fire Safety VR Training. And since I'm doing shorter streams right now because of a recurring meeting that's happening on Thursdays that I want to make, I've been doing much shorter streams than usual. So I've been doing it over the course of several streams instead of one game per stream. I will get back to my normal schedule hopefully soon, but it's indefinite because of this recurring meeting that's happening on Thursdays. So yeah, so I'm just scrubbing the video of me playing it and doing the Rose Thorn Bud this way. And I'm ending up actually doing a much more thorough job than I would normally because of that. And then once I'm done with this, I'm going to go back over to my synthesis where I am synthesizing everything into one big research visual. These are my notes, basically. A big research one, Rose Thorn Bud, on the training genre of all of the games that I played in this genre. I need to add fire safety VR training and lab training VR to this synthesis that I've done already. And what will come out of this, the benefits of doing a Rose Thorn Bud this way instead of just writing a bunch of notes, is this is way more visual, so you can easily scan it and see, you know, here we have a very definitive list. What's working, what's not working, what are we going to do about it? And I also play 2D games, so if I were playing a 2D game, how would we translate that into XR? If we were to make it in XR, and if it is already a VR game, what would we need to think about if this were a augmented or a mixed reality game? So I talk about that here, and then I'm also working on a pattern library, so I'm grabbing all of these roses and seeing if that's something that I can make into a pattern for that. So this is going to end up being, this is going to come into multiple outputs. So that's the good thing about doing it this way instead of just writing a bunch of notes is, again, very definitive. You can see it's color coded, so you can see very quickly what the information is. And this can come to multiple outputs. I can make a report out of this. I can make an article out of this, a video, whatever I want. So I'm going to be using this to help inform my online courses that I'm creating around training. And so this will be very beneficial for me in any other kind of outputs that I want to do. That's the benefit of using Post-its. Your notes are very short and simple so that you can glean the most important information quickly and create different outputs from that. It's a lot easier based on my experience to do it this way than it is the old way that I used to do it, which was lots and lots of notes written out on paper or typed up in a document, because you still have to go back in there and scrub all those notes. This way it's already organized. So that's the benefit of doing it this way. I've not had enough coffee yet, so hold on. So now I just need to pick up where I left off, which was where this phone is and this big photo that they just plopped into the world that totally breaks immersion. So that's where I am right now. And I'm going to add that. It breaks immersion. It's unexpected. I really don't understand why they did that. Okay, so I did these follow-ups. What does the button 3? So I'm gonna have to go back in there and do that because I have to go back in the game to look at that. And then the NPC already did this and I complained about it somewhere. Was it down here? Where was it? Here, yeah. Way down at the bottom. And so it goes off, you just continue standing by the cooler, no response. So yes, and I already said that. I'm gonna separate these, I think. Very linear, go do all the steps yourself. Yeah, so this is already covered, so that follow-up's done. And that one I'm gonna have to go back in. Okay. Distance settings on the controller interactions are strange. You have to move your hand closer. I need to get to that part of the video. And I should have done a better job of doing timestamps on this so that I could... Did I put the video link in here? Nope, I'm gonna do that. And here's it for you if you want to check it out. Where is this? Yeah, that's the link. Okay. Distance settings on controllers. You have to switch controllers to make it work. Phone and left hand. Can't move right arm well. Yeah, I'm gonna start from now on trying to remember to do timestamps on these things because I did that last time. But now I'm gonna have to go back and scrub the video to get timestamps for the other things. This one's already where I need it, so I can go ahead and do that. Okay. So I'm to this point. Video. Okay. The photo is kind of annoying. Popping up a photo. I don't know why they're doing that. Yeah, this part. So this is 3129. So you've got a raycast there, which makes you think that you can reach that from further away. But I end up having to move my hand. The raycast distance isn't set. Doesn't match. Raycast doesn't match visual line render. So these are Unity terms. But hello, welcome. How are you doing? Is that Yoshi Boy? Welcome. Thanks for watching. So the raycast is that line that's coming out of the little laser. Looks like a laser, and then the line renderer is the visual of that line. But that can be different than. Up a photo. I don't know why they're. That can be different than. They can be two different distances. I'm doing okay. How are you doing? I'm trying to interact with the UI. It's not. Again, right hand. So I have an injured right arm, so I can't move my arm very well. So I'm having trouble interacting with this game. This is me playing this previously, and so I'm going through right now to make notes on the game as I was playing it. And I can't move my arm well, so I can't reach things well with my right hand. And so I keep having to switch my hands controllers in the VR headset so that I can reach things. Oh, troubleshooting your React Native right now. Are you, how is that going for you? And if I'm interrupting you from your work, don't. Also, you don't have to reply. I keep having to switch my hands back and forth. So wait, what just happened there? The photo is kind of annoying. Popping up a photo. I don't know why they're doing that. Oh. I think the photo is on this panel. Was it on the panel? The part of the panel?
Number 112. While informing the address of the organization, its name, the place where smoke occurs, your last name, first name, and contact phone number.
It didn't let me actually, it didn't teach me anything about what I should be looking for on the, pretty bad, can't even create a project right now. I hope you get that figured out. I don't know anything about React Native, or I would help, but I don't know anything about it. So sorry, I can't help. Hopefully you're able to figure that out soon. Because I know that feeling of not being able to do anything. It's really frustrating. And whatever it was talking about with the um, extinguisher, it didn't tell me what to look for. All I know about is the gauge now that it's in the green, but it didn't tell me what to look for with the handle and stuff. Okay, I think that's the panel. The photo is kind of annoying. Popping up a photo. I don't know why they're doing that. Yeah, it's the panel. Okay, so they just keep replacing the panel with the picture, or it's part of the panel. Why? I don't know, but okay. It's not really how I would design a UI panel. Um, there. Let's just add those notes. Examining closer. Photo is part of panel of the UI panel. Use to select your responses on the call. So this is not how I would design a UI panel, and I come from a very long history of UX design and interaction design. First of all, I would just make it one panel and not keep switching back and forth between the photo and the responses. And if there's nothing to respond to, I wouldn't have the panel there. Also, the placement of the panel is really weird. It's you've tried multiple things so far. Yeah. I've been there. Just yesterday, I ended up having to contact support for something I was doing with my website, and I did a very, very stupid thing that I should have known better than to do, and I broke something, so I had to get support to help me fix it because I couldn't fix it on my side, and yeah, yeah, last resort. Yeah, I wish I knew more about it. I'd try to help, but I know nothing. So let's see. I would 3127 here. Are you part of the Circuit Stream community? If you are, then you might be able to get help from them. Might be people in there that know it. Examining closer. It keeps replacing the responses with the image when there's no response. But or when so I would design it different. Also, the placement of that panel is really weird. That's another thing. It's awkward. And not in the ergo, the head comfort zone. That's another thing. that at 31:27. Hey, Phantom's here to help. Thanks, Phantom. Because I know nothing about React Native. I would move the placement of this into the head comfort zones, and that would also help with the problem of distance and ergonomic. And I would also, on the distance issue with the raycast, I would ensure that the raycast distance settings match the visual, match the line renderer to reduce confusion, because it makes it look like you can reach further than you actually can. And I would also keep something I keep you keep head and ergonomic comfort zones in mind when you're creating your UI panels, or like choosing where you're gonna add your interactions and stuff. When you're creating and placing. Interactable objects. And then keep ability in mind. Keep having to say that. Design with accessibility in mind. Yeah, these all tie together. Yeah, thanks for helping that with that fandom. I can't help at all. Thanks for helping, Yoshiwa. Hopefully y'all can figure it out. Feel free to chat in there about it. I'm just gonna keep doing my thing too. So when picking up the phone, the photo pops up. Breaks immersion. Examining closer photo part of the UI panel keeps replacing. So I wouldn't design the UI panel in this way. I would reconsider the UI panel design. Usually, also, while still like that whole ergonomic thing, it wouldn't be way up where it is here. They placed it in front of the phone, I guess, to try to help you associate it with the phone call, but it doesn't. It's not necessary to do that. It would be better to have it down at a comfortable, not obscuring the scene, because it's also asking you to do things and look around. So better that it not be in an awkward position. And see. I have to keep watching to see how the interactions go.
Interact with the UI.
Before I can like say any more about the panel design.
It's not. Again, right hand.
Name the full address of the object where the fire was detected.
So if this were an emergency situation, I need to be able to do stuff with one hand. Okay, that panel is huge. Make the panel smaller, move it down. Green panel. And make it smaller. Close interactions. It doesn't have to be that big if it's panel size is affected by distance. Further away the panel, the bigger it needs to be. But if it's close to you, it's actually harder to interact with if it's bigger. Further away equals bigger. Closer equals smaller. Okay. I actually don't know where I am. Because it's asking me where I am, and I have no idea.
Full address of the object where the fire was detected.
I seriously don't know where I am. Did it tell me where I was? I don't remember. And I can't get back over to the thing to check it. So I have no idea where I am. So I'm about to die. And everyone else here is about. I had to use logic to figure out, yes, I'm in a simulator. But I wasn't expecting that type of option as an answer. I was expecting something more realistic since this is safety training. So I wasn't expecting that to be an option. I was expecting to have known something that I missed. This is 32. Okay. 3240-ish. And if this were a classroom setting, that wouldn't be as big a deal because the trainer could just say, yeah, you're in a virtual thing. But it took me a minute to, because again, the alarm's going off in my ear, which is already irritating. That can mess up your ability to think. So yeah, think about all those things whenever you're creating your experience as well. 3240. I was asked the full address. That's the problem. It's like I'm looking for an address. How do I know my address? But the options aren't addresses. Not expecting a virtual office simulator to be an option. So it took a while. For me to realize that was the right answer. Because I'm sure that, so whenever you call an emergency, they're going to ask you for your full address. So that's a realistic question. The answers were not realistic. Because they're not addresses. To give answer options that match the question. It's asking for a full address. Give full address options. And just tell the and just let the student know so you're going a different route. Some point what that address is. Because if you're wanting to teach real life safety, do that. Because it threw me off. And of course, usability testing would be needed to validate that, as all of this.
Name the nature and purpose of the object.
No. Nature and purpose of the object. What is the what? What was that? And I can't get back over to the thing to check it. So I have no idea where I am. So I'm about to die. And everyone else here
The object where the
Is
fire
about to
was
die.
detected.
Oh yeah, teleporting was turned off at this point when you're on the phone. Because of course, if you're on the phone, on a wired phone, you can't move. But that's an old school phone with that long thing, so you should have a long cable.
Name the nature and purpose of the object.
No. Yeah, say get rid of that phone photo. It's weird. Nature and purpose of object. What object? This makes no sense. This question makes no sense.
The ignition of which
Second question makes no sense. $32.55. Second question. Nature and purpose object. Is this how we speak? Doesn't make sense. Narelle. What of what object? I have to guess. Answer based on options listed. So this would be a follow-up because this is supposed to have been created based on international standards for fire safety training. And so the question, that would be a follow-up question. Is this an actual question worded the way people would ask it in the real world? Because it doesn't feel like a natural question. It doesn't make sense at all. So that would be make sure questions are realistic and Um, if you're following a standard list of questions, make sure you're following that standard list of questions. And if it's not a standard question, make sure it at least makes sense. Because that question doesn't make sense. And in a situation like this where there's a fire, you don't want to be wasting time trying to figure out what someone means by this ambiguous wording in this question.
Which object caused the fire? Give your last name, first name, and contact.
To check it. So I have no idea where I am, so I guessed office, I think.
The ignition of which object caused the fire? Give your last.
Right. I think that phone, the phone's showing every time the person asks a question. Get rid of the phone. Just get rid of the phone picture and just show the panel. Show the panel. In training, you want to accompany voice with text anyway. So just show the words on the panel with the options while the voice is talking. I'm usually not that prescriptive on this stuff, but this time I am. There's no need to show that photo. This is getting really long, so I'm going to end up having to double up or something. Let's see. Scoot all this over. Now my lines are all messed up. So I'm gonna just go with it because there's a lot. Okay.
Activate the manual call point located at the emergency exit. To do
I'm wondering if they should have asked for the phone number first in case something happened, but I don't know the standards. But they said to leave the building, but they're about to be instructed to do something very different than leave the building. They're about to be instructed by the trainer voice to go fix the fire themselves. Instead of leaving. Huh. I'm wondering if that's actually what you're trained to do. Because thinking about house fires and stuff, yes, if you have a fire extinguisher, you would want to try to put it out yourself, depending on how bad it is and stuff. But safety is more important, making sure everyone's out, so because smoke inhalation is the thing, and especially that NPC that's standing right by the fire, not doing anything. Smoke inhalation is a thing, and you can get overcome by smoke before you are able to get out if you're just spending a bunch of time trying to put the fire out yourself, especially if you're not trained. Why firefighters have masks. So they don't get overcome by smoke. I've known people who have died in fires because they spent all of their time getting their family out and then weren't able to get out themselves because they were overcome with smoke. They were able to rescue their family. There are other ways that could have done, like they could have gone out the window and then banged on all the windows to get people to leave instead of going through the house and through the smoke so that they wouldn't have died. So properly is very important to be trained properly on fire safety. Of course, they say that they're following international standards for how to handle this, but I'm wondering if this is actually so they went and tripped the alarm first, which is good, and then did the NPC move once they tripped that alarm, or is the NPC still standing there? Okay. No, NPC is still standing there. Did I already trip the alarm? See? No. I haven't tripped the alarm yet. Even though the smoke alarm's going off. There's a smoke alarm going off. There's just all kinds of like weirdness about this sim. That isn't making sense for me. First of all, it's like I'm not an expert. Yeah, sure, it's asking me for the cause of the fire. Like, I don't know the cause of the fire. What your job is? I can guess it's coming from electrical equipment. Yeah. So how long is it going to take you to reset up everything with Expo? It's another one I don't know anything about. There's like just all kinds of things going on in my head that I don't even know where to start here. Okay, I'm gonna just rewatch it.
The ignition of which object caused the fire? Give your last name, first name, and contact phone number. Help is on the way. Leave the building.
Activate the manual call point located at the emergency exit. To do this, move your hand to the call point. Open it by pulling the trigger, and then extend your hand a little further and pull the trigger again to turn on the alarm.
Having trouble reaching things.
Go back and take the extinguisher to extinguish the fire. To do this, repeat the steps already learned.
Having to use the wrong hand with the controller because I can't reach anything with my right hand.
Move to the place of fire. Pull out the safety lock pin with
I'm
your
doing
free
everything
hand.
with the wrong
To
hand.
do this, bring your free hand to the pin and pull the trigger. Pull the pin and pull the trigger again to release it.
Huh?
Grasp the discharge nozzle and direct it toward. Press the handle and cover the switchboard with fire extinguishing powder. To do this, pull the trigger of the controller cord. Release the discharge nozzle and then the fire extinguisher. To do this, pull the trigger of the controller corresponding to the hand. Keeping calm, proceed to the emergency exit along the path from the evacuation plan. Pay attention to the absence of colleagues on the premises. Everyone must be evacuated. In order to call a straggling worker, hover the pointer over him and pull the trigger.
Well, I can't see in the quarters. And let's see. Yeah, it tells me to do that, so I'm spending time looking for them.
There.
But there aren't any.
Can't tell. I can't see in there.
And I'm getting dizzy from all this head moving. Bad cinematography.
I hope everyone's out.
Can't see if they are.
Wow, this teleportation is so frustrating.
Evacuation completed. Wait for the fire
Oh,
safety
hey,
officer
I
at the
passed.
muster point to count all evacuees.
Okay, I guess we're done.
Okay. I am. I think I made some comments after this too, so I'll double check those. But I'm told to leave the building. The voice on the phone tells me to leave the building, but then trainer voice immediately tells me something else. Tells me to put out the fire myself. And then also I said a bunch of things and now I'm forgetting all of them. Again, thinking about real life. I wasn't Did I say that? I think did I mention that anywhere? It's like, was I trained? There's different types of fires. And of course, this can only teach you one kind. Um, but there's different types of fires, and that need different methods of being put out. Like electrical fires versus grease fires versus whatever. Like electrical fires, you're not gonna use water, you're gonna need to use something else because water's just gonna make it worse. Grease fire, water will just make it worse. So, fire extinguisher. Yes, good, we have a fire extinguisher. And that would have been a different module, of course, teaching you the different types of... I think that's going to be just like a bud for... It's just a general bud that's not like tied to anything. Is to consider additional modules for teaching more about different types of fires. For example, grease versus... How do you spell grease? Grease versus electrical versus like, yeah, whatever. Different types of fire. I'll just say etc. And I already said consider the realistic behaviors of NPCs. Let's see, it tells me... Did I already complain about that? Let's see. But you can't see in the... Limited but can't check the tour quarters to see if everyone's out. You can't go back and check the map. Since there's no teleportation in front of it, tells you to check for stragglers, but doesn't enable you to do so with the limited teleportation stats. Tells you how to handle them. Like interact with the stragglers, but there aren't any stragglers. So I don't know what happened there. Maybe they were planning to have some, but then something happened and they changed their mind. At some point, those stragglers got removed or were never added. I don't know, because, you know, craziness happens on projects. But that's kind of a weird inconsistency because that's making me look for stragglers and spend time on it. But then it's making me wonder if I'm leaving someone behind because they said specifically how to do it. And there's also strangeness in that there's a fire alarm going off, but NPCs aren't responding, which I already mentioned. It might be a smoke detector. That might have been a smoke detector. It's going off while calling and everything, but at the beginning. As soon as the fire starts, but no response from NPC. And then also then asked after the chain of events are just weird. Like they're strange. Like, smoke alarm goes off. I go to the phone, go to a wired phone call instead of just using the cell phone. Because if you're using a cell phone, you can be mobile and you can go trip the alarm while you're checking for people and getting people out. But this is like very linear and not a realistic way that you would handle a fire. Because if you handled a fire this linearly, it feels to me like people would die. And that's something that you don't want to do with training, is teach them to do something that that would risk their lives in real life. Just to get through the training. I'm gonna put that bud here because I'm about to have to almost one. So I need to get these notes down quick. Don't ask people to do something that wouldn't be safe IRL just to get through training. Make it realistic. Purpose is to make it as realistic as possible so they can respond appropriately in the event of the emergency. Go to the wired phone to call instead of using a cell phone. NPCs aren't responding, so and then asked to go trip the alarm yourself after the call. Then asked to go get the extinguisher, put out the fire for yourself, and then you're asked to check for stragglers and get out yourself. So think through the realism of this. Because, again, if it... And there are regulations in office regulations of so many people in an office building that you have to have certain fire plans in place, and those fire plans do not include one person being the lone hero that does everything. If you're doing office fire emergency training, take into account the regulations for office buildings. Office buildings don't, regulations don't offer one lone hero to do everything alone. They call for a team. They call for multiple people doing things. To then create the training appropriately for that. there's fire marshals that are designated like floor marshals. If you've got a multiple floor building, there are like certain regulations for how do you handle people with accessibility issues in a instance like this. Someone on crutches, someone in a wheelchair. How do you help those people escape, evacuate, especially in a multi-floor building where you're not allowed to use the elevators during an emergency, and all these things. This seemed more like a manufacturing site office, which would have its own set of regulations that are even more complex depending on what it is you're manufacturing. So you have to take all of that into account. It seems like this one was made for an international standard for that's gonna like make everyone happy, which is a very, very hard thing to do. Don't get me wrong, it's very hard to make all of those different national standards happy on a training sim. So I'm not dogging this training, but I'm thinking through it. It's like, how could we make this thing exceptional? And again, it's really hard to do that when you're dealing with a bunch of government regulations that you have to meet and make happy with, especially when you're dealing with international, because that's multiple government regulations that you're having to deal with, which is, it's hard enough just dealing with one government and all of their regulations and safety stuff. So yeah, I could imagine. I'm feeling for the team that did this work. I'm feeling for them right now. I am sympathizing. I really am. But it's time for, I have to go. Thanks for hanging out. I hope that your project that you're working on gets a little better now that you've switched. Hopefully it's easier, and good luck with that project. Thanks, Phantom, for helping. Thanks, y'all, for hanging out, and I'll see y'all next time. Have a good week.